Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. This is Shannon Port, and today we are going to talk about the Scorpio New Moon. We're going to talk about the Scorpio New Moon, and not just for the new moon itself. Today we are going to talk about the Scorpio New Moon. Ooh, one sec. All right, and so, we're going to talk about the cycle, the new cycle that's starting in Scorpio. And so it's nice to see some of you coming on. This is a really big time. And so there's a lot of energy going on right now. And so we're going to also talk about the month of November. And so it's so great to have you. I want to say welcome to all the new subscribers, because in the past couple videos, there's been a lot of new people that have come and joined this channel. And it's really, really nice to have you. And I also want to say thank you to everyone who has liked and also shared the videos. It's really helpful to help the platform grow and to support it. But mostly, it's been so amazing to write back and forth with so many people, because I've pretty much answered every single comment that has come in the past few weeks, and there has been amazing insight that you have posted in the comment section. And so for that, I can't even tell you, it's so fulfilling. And to talk to so many people that said that you've been following my work ever since it was on iTunes, or just when I started out as a blog at Art of the Feminine. Really nice to meet you in person. So it's great to have you here. I want to say, today this might be a shorter video. It's a big day. This might be a shorter video. It's November 6th in the US, and it's the midterm election. So there's a huge energy happening on the planet because everybody's watching that. I want to let you know that I'm planning to do a live stream video for Jupiter entering into Sagittarius. And that one, I'm going to put a lot of care into that video. I'm hoping to do that on 11/11, because 11/11 is a really powerful portal, and it falls on a Sunday, so it's a good time. So look for it. If you haven't subscribed, if you subscribe, you'll get the notification when we go live, and you'll just get like a text on your phone that will tell you that we're live, and then you can come and join us and chat. I think that's how it works. You might get an email too, but anyway, subscribe if you want to be notified when we do the live stream. So that live stream, I'm not going to announce the title of it yet, but I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a good one. So let me just check the chat. And oh, it's nice to see you. Hello. Oh, it's great to see all of you. I want to say, sometimes I don't catch all the questions or all the comments, but I go back and look at it afterwards. So it's nice to see familiar faces. Really great. The Scorpio New Moon, and Scorpio is the theme of the video is emotional power merge. And it could also be emotional power surge, because there's an emotional power surge happening right now, or emotional power merger, because Scorpio is teaching us how to merge with each other. Scorpio is about power. It's about the depths of emotions. It's not about shallow emotions. It's not about just a little sensitivity here and there. Scorpio is about the depth of power we have buried inside of us. And Scorpios know that we don't get there unless, first of all, we go into our own dark and we search out who we really are. And also, Scorpio is the 8th house. It's about commitment. So Libra is about marriage and equality. In Libra, we're talking equal relationships. So it's about marriage. It's about partnership. It's about the collective. Scorpio, the thing that makes Scorpio different is that Scorpio is about power in relationships. So that relationships are not always equal. A lot of the lessons that we learn through Scorpio-themed relationships are about finding our power through perhaps not having power in the relationship. So if we get into a Pluto-type relationship where someone dominates us or has more power than us, or where there's some kind of abuse or something's taken from us, or where it's just not equal, it's a lesson that we have to learn to neutralize that force coming at us and use it to find our own power. And so merging with others it's about balancing things out through understanding both the dark and the light of the other. And there is a lot more to say about that. We're going to go into some of those Scorpio themes. I want to talk a little bit about the feminine energy that's happening here. This new moon is just lit with healing energy and water energy. I don't know what I should talk about first. I think I will. I think I'm going to go in a little bit deeper with the Scorpio theme. So this is what I wanted to say. So on Friday night, I watched The Matrix, and I watched The Matrix, the 1999, the first one that came out in 1999, which I think I saw all of them in New York City. So it kind of brought back memories, but I wanted to say, I tend to watch those movies every so many years, but I think it's been about 5, maybe 7 years since I saw The Matrix, the first one. And I watched it on Friday night, and I was blown away by the Scorpio themes. That movie is a Scorpio themed movie. Even the costume, even the stylized costumes with the black trench coat, the patent leather, the lady in red that shows up in The Matrix. But I wanted to just touch on that because I want to start the video by just giving a hint at some of those themes when we're talking about Neo. And if you haven't seen The Matrix, I think it's worth your time. So much about what we're discovering right now about our own matrix and our own simulation, as Elon Musk would say. In The Matrix, Neo has to go in. He's in the Matrix, but then he wakes up. Once he wakes up, he has to go back into the Matrix, and he has to discover his power, and he has to fight the agents. So it's very much about being able to see through the program, but not only see through it, to change the victimization into our own internal power. So it's about waking up, and it's about understanding that we have this ability to recall. Even when he's with Morpheus and they're training, and they go into the program, and he trains and he says, I know Kung Fu. He knows that he already knows it, because once he wakes up and remembers, he remembers his gifts from the past. So that's a huge theme. And that's part of Scorpio theme, knowing that when we go in, and we go in with our eyes open, and when we go in fearless and not afraid of merging with something that might even perhaps hold something that's a threat to us or that scares us, we create a compression that allows us to birth our gifts. So it's a good thing. Also, when Trinity, she tells him to follow the white rabbit, and so he ends up at this nightclub, and she whispers in his ear, Morpheus, and she's working for Morpheus at that time, won't make contact with you until you ask the right question. And I'm paraphrasing, but she says, you have to come forward with the right question. And that is something that all of us could really, really meditate with right now. Because if we're not asking the right questions, this is huge. We won't get the answers. We could be complacent. We could sit back. We could just accept what's going on in the world around us, in any situation, when things are good and when things are hard and challenging. But it's when we are alert enough and aware enough to ask the right questions that the teacher appears, or the guide appears. In this case, Morpheus represents the highest ascended part of our own consciousness that's coming in to let us know what's happening and to encourage us to meet the oracle and find out who we really are. There was something else. You might have even jotted it down. Oh, real love. So Neo dies in the Matrix. And so it's so much about the theme also, how they are outside the Matrix. It's like our souls are hooked up and in captivity outside of the Matrix. And our soul energy in the Matrix, which is very Scorpio, in the underworld, is being used as a battery, is being used as energy to fuel this Matrix. That's about our emotional power. When we do not realize the pure creative power of our own emotions, our emotions then become a battery that fuels that runs the matrix. And so Scorpio is about merging with what you fear the most, or just plain old commitment. It rules merging with another. It rules shared resources, that we have to merge and we have to commit to something in order to extract the gift of that thing, in order to know the truth. Scorpio is Pluto ruled, and it's about truth. It's about death and rebirth. It's about regeneration. And this world right now is in a regeneration, ascending consciousness. We're waking up, and things are starting to there's cracks in the matrix. And if you I know I experience this a lot, but where you actually see it break down, which is it's amazing. You actually see the fabric of the matrix open up. You could be having a conversation, you could be looking out on a landscape, you could be listening to something, you could be doing something that you do repetitively all the time, and all of a sudden something new comes through. So that's something to watch for. So I wanted to, and the other part is that Trinity, when Neo dies, he's fighting the agents and he dies, he gets killed, he's dead. She has his body is truly on the higher octave with her, but his soul energy, his mind is projected in the matrix, and he dies. And without the mind, the body can no longer run. So she tells him for the first time, Neo, you have to get up. You have to get up. And I'm paraphrasing again. I know that you are the one. I know that you are the one because I love you. Oh my God. Because I love you. And when that is transmitted to him, he gets up and he knows who he is. It struck me so much more intensely than it ever had when I saw her whispering to him. There's a lot of whispering, and whispering tends to activate the divine plane within us and the spiritual plane. A full voice tends to hit us on the physical level, but when we speak silently to somebody, we're touching them on their highest level of consciousness. So that's something to know, playing with levels of power. Trinity represents so much, that archetype. And so I wanted to bring that in. Watch the matrix. It's got a lot. It's just exactly where we're at. And I was thinking, Elon Musk, I just saw an interview he did, and he was talking about human beings have become cyborgs. Of course, it didn't surprise me that he said that, but he said, of course we're cyborgs. We are all hooked to our smartphones. And in his words, we are infinitely smarter because of our smartphones. This is what I want to say to that, Elon Musk. Our smartphones cannot activate our emotional power or our emotional wisdom. Our intuitive wisdom has nothing to do with our smartphones. When we awaken that, we can absolutely interface with technology and AI on another level. But if that is what is usurping our life force, it's just like we're in the matrix. It's the exact same thing. So a lot of people are talking about this, but we're in a split right now where we have the path of the inorganic, of the AI, or we have the path of emotional depth and true power, the Neo. And notice when Neo, they live in a very humble way with like kind of shabby clothes. It's sort of stylized that way. When they go into the matrix and they become their fully realized beings, they all of a sudden have this stylized garb on. But there's some messages in that for us as well, having to do with us. So, all right. So I wanted to, I'm going to just jump into what I discovered right before this video. What I discovered, first of all, I know from knowing the transits that there is a tremendous amount of healing energy with Neptune trining the moon and sun. There's also Pluto is sextile the moon and sun. Pluto is the ruler of this new moon in Scorpio, but Pluto is going to be sextile the new moon and the sun. So there's that. But here we go. This is what I discovered about the goddess energy, the asteroids and the dwarf planets, that is very powerful and incredibly worth mentioning to start this video. Ceres, the dwarf planet, is conjunct a retrograde Venus. So we have Venus retrograde. Venus is now back in her sign. Venus is in Libra, the sign of marriage and partnerships and beauty and art and balance and equilibrium, harmony. Ceres, the goddess of motherhood and mothering, the protective powers of the mother, is conjunct retrograde Venus, opposite retrograde Uranus. So Ceres is in that that opposition between retrograde Venus and retrograde Uranus. I just did a whole video on it for the Taurus full moon, which is still incredibly relevant if you want to hear more about that energy that we're in. So there's Ceres, and Ceres. So because the North Node is moving into the sign of the mother and the sign of our emotional platform, psychological platform, this is all really validating for where we are at. So Ceres, motherhood conjunct Venus, the ruler of deep, deep emotions, which has just been retrograde through Scorpio, back in Libra, but getting ready to go through Scorpio again. Jupiter at 29 degrees of Scorpio, opposite his wife, Juno. Juno is at 27 degrees of Taurus. Juno and Jupiter opposite each other. They are equals. They represent the two powers of polarity. It could be known as the masculine and feminine, the electric and the magnetic, but they're definitely an alchemical. I call them alchemical pairs or alchemical partners. With those two opposite each other in Taurus and Scorpio, there's a heightened feeling of healing relationships, but also equality and balance. And Juno is also the ruler of feminine rights and justice for the feminine, being very outspoken for healing the equality with the feminine, and also healing partnership, which is really powerful right now. And I haven't taken a peek at the chat because I have it closed down, but it looks like everyone's pretty quiet. So it's good to see you. And I will take a peek back at that in just a moment. We also have Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena is opposite Chiron. Now, Pallas Athena is at 1 degree of Libra. She rules wisdom, even the courts, but it's the true wisdom of the heart is Pallas, is Athena, and also the wisdom around the divine feminine, the wisdom around justice, and just the depth of wisdom of that evolves humanity and wakes up this human race. She's opposite Chiron, the wounded healer. So Chiron is retrograde in Pisces. Chiron is also in a fabulous trine at this new moon, Scorpio new moon. Chiron is trine to Jupiter in Scorpio, Chiron in Pisces, 28 degrees, Jupiter in Scorpio, 29 degrees, North Node just moved into Cancer, 29 degrees. We have a pure water trine with Chiron, Jupiter, and the North Node newly dipping herself into the sacred waters of Cancer. This is so healing and validating for the healing that we're all doing. And I mentioned this a lot, but we are all doing really deep healing. We all are. I mean, sometimes we medicate and we're like tuned out, or we jump into another reality for a while. But if you're awake on this planet right now, there's some form of healing. If it's not affecting you, it's affecting your loved ones. There's something going on for everybody if we're here at this time. So with Pallas Athena opposite Chiron, I feel she's activating the wisdom of the healer and really saying, let's bring our healing into the wise ones. Let's set down some of this foolishness that we engage in. When we look at politics, and speaking of politics, we have the midterm elections, we see a bunch of grown-ups acting like children, not in a good way. We see there, and it doesn't mean there's not good people. I have a friend that is just recently broke into politics on a high level, that is such a pure, intelligent, and amazing female soul. So there's plenty of good people in politics, but what we mostly see on the media is just insulting. It's insulting to a child's intelligence. Most children can see through the games that we play. Wouldn't it be nice to just hear wisdom articulated through genuine caring, not the posing, not the I need to satisfy my donors or my pledgers or my this or my that, but real true wisdom. That's the wisdom of Ceres. That's the wisdom of Juno. That's the wisdom of the feminine right now. I just have to put a plug in for that. But that we're what we're going to see when Cancer is lit up with the North Node in Cancer and Capricorn will be lit up too. New understanding rising up from the depths, a lot of it. And it's a powerful time. And I think it's a really good time. This is a time that a lot of things we've been waiting for are going to start to birth and bubble up in that watery sign. So with that water trine as well, with Chiron, Jupiter, and the North Node, that's a big one. Vesta, get this, Vesta, the High Priestess, the Vesta is the priestess, and she's about alchemy. Vesta rules our inner flame. She's the one that stokes the inner flame and keeps it going. She works tirelessly to make sure that we are doing the work that we've come to do. And if you are on a specific path and you are working, you can invoke the energy of Vesta. Will make sure that you're guided. She will keep you up at night so you can study, so you can produce, so you can research, so you can write. She will make sure that you get the job done because she's tireless and she doesn't quit. And she's got that priestess energy. Vesta is at 19 degrees Capricorn, 19 degrees, the number of the sun, conjunct Pluto, exact. Pluto is at 19 degrees Capricorn. So we have Vesta and Pluto at 19 degrees Capricorn, both sextiling the new moon and the sun. So there we have the priestess doing her work overtime with Pluto, the lord of the underworld and the archetypal ruler of death and rebirth and regeneration. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the fifth feminine thing we have going on. And now again, true Lilith, 25 degrees Aquarius, true Lilith, 25 degrees Aquarius with Mars. I love it. The tweet that just popped up said women of wisdom right now. It just popped up. True Lilith, 25 degrees Aquarius conjunct Mars, 25 degrees Aquarius, same degree. 25 also is one of the numbers of Sophia. It's there is a lot of support coming in from our feminine intelligence in both men and women in the entire collective, but it's saying that we're getting ready. This is the launch into the North Node in Cancer that's saying it's time. The time has come. The suffering isn't over. There's going to be a lot of things that are called out, but every one of these energies, every single one is about calling out, supporting, rescuing, saving, but teaching as well. And Saturn's in Capricorn as well, I think at 5 degrees at the new moon. So it's a reset. It's a full-on reset that's going on. All right, so we'll jump over to the rest of the planets, the personal planets, the outer planets, see where they are, and then I'll talk a little bit about the theme of power. I also have a poem I hope I get to, some lyrics from a friend of mine. And here we go. The sun and moon at 15 degrees Scorpio, trine Neptune at 13 degrees Pisces, really, really healing energy, creative, healing water trine, amazing. We have Pluto, we just mentioned Pluto and Vesta, 19 degrees, sextile the new moon and sun. Venus, 26 degrees, opposite Uranus of Libra, opposite Uranus, 29 degrees, back in Aries. It's significant. They're both back in these signs opposite each other. Jupiter, 29 degrees Scorpio. We already said trine the North Node and Chiron. Mars is squaring Jupiter. That's an intense energy. That's saying, let's get it on. Mars and Jupiter squaring amplifies the potency for action and for big action. This Scorpio new moon is really big because we have North Node just entered Cancer. We have Jupiter entering Sagittarius tomorrow or in the day after. Venus will be in Scorpio, or Venus will go direct and then enter through Scorpio. Venus goes direct on the 16th, the same day that Mercury goes retrograde. So this Scorpio new moon starting this cycle is really rolling over. It's rolling over these themes into a new chapter. All right, so Venus will station direct. I think I'm going to do a video for that. So there we have it. Let's talk a little bit about power. to finish off this video. So Scorpio is about power. It rules our lessons with power. If you have Scorpio or if you have Pluto in your seventh house, you're going to deal with power issues in your relationships in your lifetime. It's just the way it goes. It's a good thing, though. Pluto is going to teach us a lot about who we are. It's going to teach us about our own dark. And so just want to say, I'm going to go into some of the things that I brought in that I want to talk about. That was a lot of fun to talk about all those goddess planets and asteroids. All right, so Scorpio wants to annihilate the ego. So we're talking about the eighth house. We're talking about shared resources. We're talking about the entire planet. On this planet, we have a relationship with the entire human race. We are sharing resources on this planet. That's what we do. We're in a contract with each other. If we're on Earth right now with everybody else, we're having to learn, I might add, how to share resources, because I really was thinking about this last night. It came into a meditation. I was thinking about how wild it is that we don't think in terms of everybody having enough. Now, there are all different reasons, that more than we could ever go into in the next few minutes, that are obvious. There's different levels. We're learning different lessons. Sometimes people have come in to have a lifetime to experience a little bit less, to learn how to have more, all different reasons for that. But in this new consciousness, we're all meant to have our needs met. We need to have our basic needs met. And then the huge creative acts that we're doing, of course, we want to train for those. We want to learn how to really use the tools that we have in order to, like Neo, birth, to know he was the one. He had to get shot down many times. He had to believe that he was done and was not the one in order to, and he learned it through love. It was love that brought that in. Partnership love, no less. And so there's something about Scorpio. Scorpio also wants us to learn how to commit. If we're good at several different things and we just kind of dial it in with all of them, we might be recognized as, or we might feel proud about, I can do this, this, this. But if we don't ever really commit to something, we will never know how far we could go with it. Or if we really touch that place in our soul where we birth the true gift. It doesn't mean we have to be obsessive about it, but we need to commit. Anything worthwhile is we need to commit to. I see it in mentoring a lot with relationships and a lot with men that wonder why things aren't coming. And I think sometimes, you need to commit. You need to commit to yourself, and you need to, if you choose somebody, you have to commit to know the gifts of that other human being. Sometimes there's a lot being said about, if somebody doesn't honor you or they don't treat you right, or if you don't feel your greatest or your sexiest when you're with this partner, get rid of them, leave, next, be on to the next one. Scorpio says, guess what? Think again. You might think you want out of this relationship. I know what you need to learn. If you keep passing until you get the person that gives you all the glitter and all the glory and bows to you in the exact way you want, you may never uncover the power that you really have. And I know in my own life, looking back over the years now, I see myself in different periods of my life, different times in my growth, and even in this work I'm doing, when I thought, and I had come in contact with a lot of wisdom early on at a very young age, and then again in my 20s and my 30s. And I remember thinking, this is really it. I can just work now. I've got it. Meaning, like, I have everything I need to work with these things. And I want to make a lot of great things with them. Well, enter Pluto and relationships. Once a relationship comes in, we find out who we really are. Because until we can take our gifts and offer them on the platform of shared resources and having some kind of contract or commitment with another person, another job, another court case, another business that you're building, or family, until you have that experience of being bound with something for a while and having to work it out within that container, you may think you have everything. You may think, this is great. I'm done. I've got it. But until you've had to commit, you will put it this way. After you've gone through a 7-year cycle in any relationship, because every cycle of relationships, a full cycle is 7 years, you will realize that you're a different person, and you will realize that the lessons that you learned developed that wisdom that you were carrying to a level that you never saw coming. You didn't even realize it was possible. And so there's the obvious thing to say that, of course, if something's terribly abusive, you need to get out. If something really doesn't honor you or validate you on an equal level, you really need to get out. Sometimes with Scorpio, though, you get to, let's say you have a wound that attracts someone who overpowers you or who doesn't validate you or who exploits you or manipulates you emotionally. Huge shadow side of Scorpio. Scorpios know how to manipulate people emotionally because they're so in touch with that power, and it can be narcissistic. And we all know that power is very, very intense. And there's also deception and secrecy in Scorpio in the shadow. But learning that lesson can teach you far more. You may be thankful when you get through it. As long as you're not in danger, you may be thankful after you've gone through a round of learning in that situation, you're going to be a different person. So that being said, when I think of Scorpio, my Scorpio friends, I think of power. I think of patience. I think of people who know how to listen because they have power and they're always interested in power. They're also not afraid of what you have to say. I know some strong Scorpio men, and they listen. They're fabulous listeners because when you talk, if you have anything to do with them, they want to know. They want to know where you're at. They're going to take it in, and they're going to hear the nuances and the subtleties of what you're saying. And a good Scorpio someone with a good, strong Scorpio placement will use that to merge with you and to get deeper in a profound way where you can birth something. They're great business partners because they're powerful and they want to succeed. They have success written all over them because they're not afraid to overlook. They're not afraid, to look at the feminine emotions. And so for some men who are Scorpios, it's a little threatening because they're born into a placement where they're forced to look at emotions and they're forced to sit with that. If they choose not to, it can bring on depression or anxiety or deep, deep depression. One of the shadow pains of Scorpio is depression and even suicidal thoughts. So, however, if you're born into that and you need to look at it, there's probably a reason that's going to really, really awaken you into the power of love, like we saw Trinity in the Matrix telling Neo you can do it. You are the one, and you can get up and you can do this. You have the power. Um, so what else do I think of? Not afraid. Scorpios aren't afraid to commit either. They'll go into a business full. They get in all the way. They don't step in and just get their toes wet. They jump in. They dive to the bottom. And I'm always so inspired by some of the people I know that are in business as Scorpios because they really do. They can really teach us not to be fearful. In fact, I've had someone I consulted with before on some of the work I was doing, that the one thing they Scorpios will say, share. It's a big lesson, share, because and they know that. They know when you share resources, I'm thinking of someone in particular that I know very well. Give it all away, share, and it will come back to you. If you share authentically, it's yours. You never can lose something that you give authentically because you're showing that you trust, that you have power, and that you will be supported. Huge thing for Scorpio. So, annihilating the ego. We need to do a little bit of that on this planet. It's about sexuality. We've talked about this so many times, so I'm not going into it too much. Jupiter just went through Scorpio. We're seeing the abuses of power. I need to mention it, though, that the abuses of power are going to come out like never before. In fact, Scorpio rules deception, secrecy, even the dark uses of occult energy. And it also rules the wisdom of occult energy because it's a divine feminine archetype of 13. And so we're going to see all the darkness exposed. It's coming. It's happening right now, but it's what that means. It doesn't mean revenge on other people. It means that we have access to what is our birthright. We can't think of justice so much as taking down other people. We have to think of justice as awakening what Neo awoken. He found we are all the one, and that's the message. There is no single one. We're all the one. Sometimes as we're waking up and getting to new levels, we have to ask the right question so that the guide appears. And I know for sure that there's times on our path where somebody who has experienced something that we haven't, when we ask the right question, will show up and will gift us with a sharing that helps us to go to the next level. We may stay with that person or that guide or that energy or that teaching for a while and then move on. But it's an honor for it's that even the teacher, mentor, mentee, disciple, teacher, the neophyte and the master, all those relationships used the right way are about Scorpio because they're about merging with someone to share resources. And that is what we're here to learn, how to share resources more and more. um, it rules other people's money, so we're all learning about how to share and have things come back to us, like you get an inheritance or you get a payout from a good insurance settlement, but something that's good and healthy. Money shows up, or somebody that comes out of the blue that wants to support you or that believes in what you're doing. That's Scorpio. That's the eighth house. That is a divine birthright as well. We need to know, we need to tune into that so we don't have this poverty consciousness on the planet. Merging power, not being in a rush though. Scorpios don't rush. They know how to sit back and wait. They wait. Scorpios are, I know this also from all those I know, they wait for the right timing. I know some of my friends, I could be like, oh no, you should do it. You should do it. No, they won't even say anything about it. They'll just wait. They're not afraid of having it taken out from underneath them. That's a powerful thing to learn because we have to realize it's not, we don't want to be anxiety lust driven where we just want it now, want it now. Sometimes we need to wait and let it cultivate and grow within us. Pluto teaches us that because it will make us pay our dues before we get the full benefit. Like if we think we're ready for something and we're not, Pluto will bring the right relationships that show us that we definitely need to take a breath and learn more before we dive into sharing resources with someone else. We're moving out of fear. We're moving into believing in our power and our emotions. So let's talk about that emotional power merging with that part of ourself that we're afraid of, the emotions that are inside us that manifest as our neuroses or as our addictions. Scorpio also rules addictions and vices. It can rule a sexual addiction. It can rule craving to get enough to fill that dark hole, because if we don't go into that dark hole, we constantly need to feed it, whether it's with food or shopping or relationships or a new sexual delight, a new human being to satisfy that part of us or to bow down to us or to validate us. That's all using other people's resources to fill that hole. And that is exactly what we're trying to balance out and heal right now. All right, I'm going to look at the chat and see if any questions stand out. I hope this is helpful. I really want to say that timing is everything. Oh, it's nice to see you. Yeah, timing is everything. In fact, in the universal laws of nature, oh, I know what I want to say. This is huge. Okay. Yes. Yes. Timing is everything. Okay. Look at the sun, how the sun rises and sets every day. Look at how we turn our clocks. We adjust our clocks just to adjust the patterns of nature. Timing is everything. Look at the precession of the equinoxes. This is what I want to say about commitment also. Okay. Excuse me. So I want to say that the sun is committed to the earth. The moon is committed to the earth and the sun, the moon archetype. So whether you believe in the moon or not, the planets are committed to the solar system. Everything in nature is committed. If we didn't have a committed sun every day, I mean, the sun rises and shines on everybody, not just those who do good, not just those who honor the spirit, because the sun really is the representation of the Christ force, the Christic force. And in Scorpio, it's buried deep down in the underworld. That the sun commits, be like the sun. Be like, and I learned this in studying the Kabbalistic teachings, be like the sun and shine. Shine and be committed. And there's more to that, but it goes in cycles, and it goes through its path of initiation through the precession of the equinoxes. Nature is committed, even though this is what I know. This is what was coming into me this morning. I think it was in the shower. I was seeing nature creates a container. full-on commitment, a psychological foundation. Within that container, we see chaos. So we see a lot of people talking about the wild women movement and how the feminine is wild. And that was really huge for a while. It seemed like everyone was the wild woman. Yes, the feminine is wild, but the feminine is also that foundation that births the child and that is solid and sturdy and that holds all of life. If we don't have a container to hold that wildness, we just get chaos. We get depression and anxiety because there's fear when there's only chaos, which can come up in some Pisces themes. If there's only chaos and we lose touch with everything, we see depression, neuroses, anxiety. But when there's a container, like the structure of the laws of the universe and the structures of the sun rising and setting, the structure of the seasons, the structure of nature giving forth constant, we know that nature is going to continuously birth the food that we need for our sustenance and our shelter. When there's a container, we can have that creative chaos, but we have to have the commitment, which is represented by that commitment in Scorpio. Without a commitment, not even a relationship can flourish. At some point in a relationship, everybody knows you meet somebody. If you don't pull the trigger on commitment after a while, it just kind of like go. It's undermined with fear. Not necessarily fear in a bad way, but there's that feeling like there's no foundation created. And so relationships, depending what they are, require a certain amount of commitment. And that being said, I'm going to take a quick peek and then I might finish. I don't know. I had a poem, but I'm not sure if it's the right time. Yes, I'm excited for the next video. I think it's going to be 11/11. So check back, subscribe to the channel and check for the live stream. If you hit the bell, you'll get the notification. I'm just going to check really quick and see. Get through traumas. Yes, Scorpio rules. Yes, Pluto rising in the 8th house. Oh, I know. I've got my North Node in the 8th house. And yes, yes, trauma. Okay, so let's just take a moment. Yeah, tapping. Yeah, EFT, and there's also the eye therapy. I'm spacing on the name of it right now, but the eye therapy is also, a lot of people who work with me do the eye therapy. That's wonderful as well. Scorpio rules crisis, and so this Scorpio new moon, we may see some new crisis coming in, but they're really supported this time around. They're supported for the awakening. All right. It looks like there was a lot of people just listening. Hi, everyone. Hi. I hadn't seen some of you. Nice to see you. All right. So I want to mention someone that I work with that is very inspiring. And this is a poem. I might not get through the whole thing, but I'm going to post a link. This is a poem, lyrics called Human Beings by Kevin Adam Barry Clark. I hope I said his whole name right. Kevin Adam Barry Clark. The lyrics are called Human Beings, and it's about really the Scorpio idea of merging and getting to know each other and not being afraid of each other. Some make it look unachievable, but I can talk to anyone. If we don't come from the same place, I'll sit here and listen. Segregation can bring extinction to a race. Guts and blood are sprayed all over the place. But we walk about as if we don't know it, eschewing selfie sticks, so the pictures don't show it, all because of our differences. Fear can make the greatest wisdom meaningless. Too busy running away from the light of day, as if there was nothing worse than everyone having their say. You'd rather rip it down than find something profound. And I'm going to cut off there. I'm going to post the link to his lyrics. He writes a lot about what's happening on the planet right now. He's wonderful. Adam Kevin Barry Clark. You can find him on Facebook. He also posts on my personal page. I want to finish this video by saying, I hope to see you at the Jupiter and Sagittarius live stream. And I think that's it. Again, thank you for your comments. I really look forward to more comments today, hearing everything about it, and having an intercourse with you to discuss any insight you might have on these topics. That being said, bow to you, and really, hopefully a lot of light is coming in. There's a lot of changes on our planet. I want to say something. The elections are today, the midterm elections, and I'm not going to speak to that politically, but great change is happening right now. Scorpio rules death. It's the archetype death in the sacred archetypes. It's about change and regeneration, and we are in it. That being said, I bow to you with a namaste. Many, many blessings, and I will see you again next time.